Alright guys, we gotta talk about Frontier developments, and don't worry, that's not gonna be a kind of weird clickbaity video. I just want to kind of sum up the situation of the 3 Frontier games, and by 3 games I actually mean Planet Zoo, Planet Coaster, and Jurassic World Evolution, and you can add the numbers to the game, whatever you like, either 2, 3, 1, it doesn't matter. Let's talk about the situation. We are going to start in with a general context, we are going to jump into Jurassic World Evolution 3, and then we're going to talk about Planet Coaster 2, and last but not least about their biggest, newest kind of asset, Planet Zoo 2, which hopefully is going to be announced soon, and I think there's evidence to why that is maybe very soon, so let's jump into it. Alright, I don't want to make it long or unnecessarily complex, but just like you have seen, everyone who's remotely interested in a Frontier game has noticed the lack of communication, and to be fair, it's not been the first time ever. They had a bit of a, positive vibe going on beginning of last year. They, started doing these unlocks, they started doing more like roadmaps for a Planet Coaster 2, for example, and yet at the end of last year, things went dead silent. And one thing I can say for certain is that it also has to do with staff, simple staff reasons. We all know that there used to be 2 community managers, which have been Kat and Chris, but Kat unfortunately left the company last year, end of last year, so Chris was more or less left alone with a couple of people from marketing and communications together with him. Now, if you look at the career side of Frontier, they are still looking for 17 people as of now, or not 70 people, but 17 different kinds of jobs with potentially more people than that, and they are having also new people starting, 2 new people in the community and influence management have just started in the last 2 months, but they first of all have to get working. So keep that in mind while we talk about all the other things. That should not be an excuse for the need of communication. I just want to give a bit of context to why I do think it also has to do with like simple stuff reasons as well. Anyways, that out of the way, let's jump into the biggest thing right now. As of today, let's talk about Jurassic World Evolution 3. So yeah, community and comments have been cooking the last couple days. I stayed informed via Evolution Square and a bit of the Unlock Discord, but let's face it, it's been a little bit hotter than it needs to be. So obviously there is something going on in the Jurassic universe, there is something odd going on. The socials of Jurassic haven't been posting for over a month, and by that I don't mean the game, I mean anything related to Jurassic World has been dead silent. There is a lot of rumors going on about a new movie being announced, or maybe even some changes in whatever the whole canon and story goes on. I'm not deep into it, I only know there is some fuzz going on in the background, and that latest statement of Frontier relating to reasons out of their control obviously hints into that direction. Do we know it for certain? No, but if we just face it as what it is, anything that would hinder you to do anything like putting a free animal in game, and we're speaking of 1 animal unit, we are not speaking of about an update or whatever. If there is literally no way there is an internal reason that, like, for example, you have like a disease wave into your company where a lot of devs also need to stay home or whatever, still that wouldn't keep you from doing 1 family unit. Either it's been planned for mid of the month. I guess there's more like a universal thing saying, you know what, whatever you do, everything regarding Jurassic has not to be updated within the next month, which would also kind of explain why they do this weird, unlock communications, and not even on a news page like Planet Coaster 2, for example, did when they did announce certain things on the Planet Coaster website, at least. It's just like a weird community message in the unlock, which would speak for not official communication, I guess, and if they could argue that this is in a contained Discord space, at least that was the very few things they could do. So at this point, I really want to jump into the defense of Frontier Developments. I think they really cannot do much more, which, by the way, wouldn't stop people from doing random posts on social, but I'll get to that on my conclusion, because that's the thing not related to Jurassic. So that out of the way, do I think this game is dead, or don't they do anything for it? I doubt it, I highly doubt it. If you look into the annual report, Jurassic World Evolution 3 did start super well, selling a lot of copies. They even had among their best starts. It was outselling Jurassic World Evolution 2, and it was very close to Jurassic World Evolution 1, which, to be fair, is hard to beat because it has that chance chance of the novelty. But then again, it was raising even much so and has been selling over 1 million copies in the same time as Planet Coaster 2 didn't even sell half of it. So it was really a decent start for the game, and there is no reason to think that they would abandon it. The first DLC has been sold relatively good as well, so there is a lot of reason to believe that this is going on. And at the point, I think we just have to sit and wait, and hopefully it's going to be a good DLC. But I assume the reason we are not getting is not related to any problems, it's more about not being allowed to. But I think this is where we can end it. There's no reason to speak longer about that. Let's hop on to Planet Coaster 2. And that is obviously a different story. We just received a big update 9, and we also received the news of a DLC dropping in June. Now, I have to say a few words about that because I haven't had a video talking about this in the brighter context of things. I have said that the update is better than I expected, and it's actually quite good. Is it as good as it could have been for the span of 5 months in between the last update and this one? And to be honest, I would say it's more than 5 months, but let's be fair, there has been like Christmas in between and holiday season, where hopefully also Frontier staff has had some rest. So technically, production-wise, it's 5 months in between the two updates. Now, is that enough? Well, not really. I do hope, and I give them the benefit of the doubt until we see it, I do hope that the update 9 was scrapped a little bit in favor of the DLC in June that hopefully is coming with a, well, potentially equally big free update. And honestly, if the free update is equally big as the update 9 is, I am very happy about this. Is the game perfect? By any means. There is still a lot of issues. There is still a lot of bugs. I've just seen they released a hotfix yesterday, so it's really good to see that they're really on it. And I mean, yesterday, I mean, at least in Germany, that was a bank holiday, but it's been, you know, something very important to them. Oh, by the way, no, I'm wrong. I think yesterday, because I'm speaking in future terms, I think it was even today, wasn't it? Hold on. I'm gonna double check that for this video. You gotta bear with me. This is no cutting or whatever. Let's have a little look. No, it's actually been yesterday. Okay, well, it's 1st of May, so it's not bank holiday in United Kingdom. It's been only in Germany. I thought, okay, they even do work on a day off. They didn't. Okay, fair enough. They still delivered very quickly after launch. Just a day later, they did deliver the update already, which is kind of cool. And it seems like Planet Coaster 2 is very active in its development. We are going to receive a new DLC, and I tried to look into the numbers, and frankly, we all seem just to have a bit of a wrong feeling about this game. Yes, player counts are terribly low, but they're also terribly low for Jurassic World Evolution 3 in comparison. Yet sales-wise, the game doesn't look that bad. It did start to push quite a bit after the Sorcerer DLC, and in the annual report, the last one, and also considering what you can try to find out online, it seems to be selling quite well still, which is a good sign for the game and which would also secure us the ongoing support of this game. Now, this is basically the situation around Planet Coaster 2, which is better than I feared, worse than I hoped, because again, communication is key, and I'll get to that in my conclusion, because that is not only related to Planet Coaster 2, in fact, but I must admit that I'm a little bit relieved after even I started to have some worry. Even I, who has been there last year talking about certain things, how they should progress with DLCs and so on. And maybe there's a tiny bit of chance, and we got to see with the next DLC, that they change their whole strategy. And to be fair, we have been talking about this. We have been challenging if the 4 DLCs a year strategy is going on forever, or if there could be a change in favor of better quality, bigger contents, better contents. And we may see if the June DLC is double the size or double the amount of stuff than the normal ones are, we can look kind of positive into the future if that brings what we wanted to have for the game. Same, by the way, applies also to Jurassic World Evolution 3. We gotta wait for how big a potential DLC in the future is, even though they already had this in the past, that there were only 2 or 3 DLCs a year. Anyhow, that's about it. Now let's move on to the big one, Planet Zoo 2. Okay, so we are now on the 3rd. Today is the 3rd of May. And the 3rd of May is obviously already leaning into more mid of second quarter of the year. And still we haven't had a announcement of or reveal or whatever of Planet Zoo. The only thing is we know Planet Zoo 2 is coming, and if the title is coming this year, which still is set to be the case, regarding if you believe the annual report, that is going to be it, because it's how the fiscal years are defined. It would still need to be released somewhere along that until the end of this year, frankly. However, there has not been a release yet. If we look into the past, when games have been revealed that have been come out around November, there's always been around exactly this moment in time. So Planet Zoo 1 has been revealed, if I'm not completely wrong, the 28th or 29th of April. Planet Coaster 1, I believe, was somewhat announced around the same time, 20th or 21st of April. And if I'm not completely wrong, also Jurassic World Evolution 3 was earlier. I can't recall directly, but it somewhat is. The only game that kind of fell out of this line was Planet Coaster 2, and there's a good reason for that, I believe. Looking back at Planet Coaster 2, it's getting more and more obvious to me that this game was released early, maybe due to financial reasons, maybe due to other reasons, but it felt like the game was set to be maybe delayed, and then some other decisions were made to still release it, because looking into it right now again for Planet Zoo 2, I figured Planet Coaster 2 has been the only game that had a super short time frame between reveal and release. That was only merely 2.5 months just before Gamescom, so they could use Gamescom as a marketing platform. Speaking of which, I do believe that this year is going to see Planet Zoo 2 on Gamescom as well. Actually, no matter if it's going to be released this year or early next year, it is the biggest event in gaming that you can do at the moment. And this, to make this really work well, I would suggest to them to release it in the span of the next weeks. And I'm very positive to that, out of like Planet Coaster 2 update out of the way. Maybe Jurassic World Evolution 3 needs to wait a little more, so maybe in the next 2 weeks or so, we could see an announcement, or a reveal, I should say. I always try to speak about that as an announcement, but it's already announced, so it is the reveal of what it's going to bring within the span of the next coming 2-3 weeks, I guess, and I'm very positive to that. I also am very positive because Planet Zoo, if you take out all external factors, Planet Zoo is by far the best game of Frontier Developments, by far their best money printing machine, and by far the biggest bet of their future. And I know people don't want to hear that. People still, I guess, believe other things are bigger. And funnily enough, if you just look at the amount of people interested in a certain topic worldwide, if you look into statistics, if you look into guest counts or whatever, Planet Zoo would need to be the smallest of them all. Sci-fi is more popular than zoos are. Roller coasters or theme parks in general are visited 3 times more than zoos are. In general, theme parks see a huge rise in interest, while zoos see a huge decline in interest and a much bigger awareness of problems of zoos. And I don't even need to talk about Jurassic as one of the biggest IPs in the world. So it's kind of hilarious that Planet Zoo is by far the best game. And it is still outperforming newer games like Jurassic World Evolution 3 and Planet Coaster 2, which is crazy to think of. But why is that the case? Well, because it is, and I am very sad to say, because I love my Planet Coaster. I also love Jurassic World Evolution 2 and 3 and just the franchise. But out of all of their games, just focused on that one game, it's by far their best game. And not in terms of numbers or whatever. As a game, it is the most fleshed out, the most polished, the best game in terms of depth. And yes, management is something they all lack in a way, but still it is the best management game they have because of all the options the game offers. And to be fair, a zoo is kind of played in a different way, even though you could argue that Jurassic is a kind of prehistoric zoo in a way, but this is intended to be a bit more chaotic and disastrous, versus a normal zoo. And considering this is the case, and I know Frontier is pretty much aware of that, Planet Zoo 2 is their biggest bet of their last 5 years in a way. And that sounds dramatic, and I guess it is. And I guess this is really, they are aware of how important this game is going to be for them. Which, and this is going to lead me into my conclusion, which means this is going to keep some resources bounded to that game at the moment. Pretty sure it is. Pretty sure there is a lot of resources going into that game. And I'm not speaking necessarily of dev resources. I'm speaking of marketing and communication resources, because if you're preparing a launch like that and you want to hit it, you better are off to prepare that right now. So let's move into a bit of a conclusion and talk about what that means for all of the 3 games combined. Alrighty, now, you've heard the situation. Jurassic World Evolution 3 most likely waiting for allowance to do something. Planet Coaster 2, for now out of the way. More of that end of June, I assume, which the date of the reveal says. And Planet Zoo 2 potentially being revealed in the next coming weeks. Would end up with a situation that is going to be the blueprint for the coming years. And this is where I think we are at right now. If they're starting this, if Planet Zoo 2 is revealed in about 2 weeks, Frontier is at a go or no-go situation. And in this case, I think the only chance they have is go, which means they are having to juggle 3 very active games, a situation they never had before. And by very active games, I mean literally a game that's just been released a year ago, a game that has been released 2 years ago, fixed, and is on a good trajectory for now, and a game that is just to be released this year. And from there on, let's say the game is being released in November, Planet Zoo 2 that is, and in December, we are facing a very, very interesting situation. That's going to be the first month for Frontier. Not saying they have to deliver on that one, but it's going to be the first holiday month where they're having 3 active games with 3 active communities, expecting 3 significant updates or DLCs or whatever. And that is a situation they never had, and they never had less stuff than now for communications. It is a very, very weird formula right now. And as you can tell from the career options they offer right now, from the people they have employed, they have to be aware of that, and they are aware of that, but they have to prepare that. You know, people who started in April, they are not ready yet to take over an entire social media channel of theirs, especially not if the time is so pressing and so important for them. So my guess is that the first month of the year were taken to reorganize their entire communications team, to reorganize how they're going into the future. They're reorganizing their staff, making sure that they're not, you know, losing another significant person in communications or whatnot, to be sure that when you start a 3-game communication marathon, which is going to be the next coming years, because we know next year is going to be another CMS game being released, and well, let's say if that's another Planet game, expanding the Planet franchise, it's the 4th game in that genre. That's going to be insane as well. Making Planet Coaster the oldest game again, which I hate, but whatever. I do think this is the case. But, and this is very important to me, also Frontier for listening, this does not mean you are allowed to not say a single word. Whatever is going on, a simple, hey, we are having internal restructures, or we have a really tight staff situation, but we are on it, would go a long way to make people just know you are on it. Because silence is always worse, because people will come up and make up stories off of that. Always. They will be speculating that the company is being sold, that I've read a couple of times on Reddit now. They will speculate into every single sold share of Frontier Developments, that this is the end now. They will go into, I don't know, they will assume to be on strike if there's not going to be better news next day, which, whatever is a strike even. If you have bought a game and you don't play it, whatever. It doesn't make any sense, but you could so easily avoid that situation by just giving us a tad bit more communication. And no one bothers about a simple... I mean, sorry, I like them, you know, don't get me wrong. I like the social media engagement. I like the ongoing posts on all the feeds normally. But it's not what's making people happy at the end of the day. We could all live without them if we have a foundation that guarantees us a good source of information. And if it's going to be the website and a status update on the website, fine, people will check the website regularly. It's fine. Or if there is an announcement every month on the Frontier Unlocked Discord, fine, people would see it or make videos about it just like we do, and people would be aware of it. But there has to be a single source of information that we can rely on a continuous schedule. And if that's not the case, people will riot as they did before. But I wanted to make this video to end this on a positive, and this is why I went through all the games before I do the conclusion. Even though I think it's a pretty shitty situation to not having communicate well enough, and to be honest, I also kind of I dislike the fact that all the updates are now a very informal reveal video, other than maybe at least a live stream for like update 9, for example. I would have expected them to do a fine, nice live stream again to showcase what they have been cooking and praise a couple of people again that have been working hard on these updates. And it's a shame. Yes, it's a nice pre-recorded video, as most of the times is, but communication is key. And, you know, I'm a marketing person. I've been working in this industry for 15 plus years now. This drives me more crazy than potentially other people, because I can, appreciate what's behind that, because I know how much work it is, but I also know how much work it is to control the damage again if it's been done, which clearly is. So I do hope they focus on that a little better in the future to ensure that they don't need to do damage control for maybe something that is not even a damage in the first place. It's just natural, and people are willing to forgive if you tell them why. And I feel like a broken record, because we've been saying that for way too long, and I'm not sure if this time the message can land. But if this video will even remotely help to make it stick, well, I hope I did. And now I do want to hear your opinion on the state of, well, also Jurassic World Evolution 3, of course, but also Planet Coaster 2, and most specifically now Planet Zoo 2, because I'm really curious to what you guys have to say. Why is Planet Zoo 2 the best game? Or Planet Zoo, in fact, because Planet Zoo we don't know, but why is Planet Zoo the best game? Have you all also played it so much? Why is it your go-to game? Is it really your main interest, or is it just because the game is so good? I'm really curious to learn about that. And in other news, I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, I would appreciate if you could hit the subscribe button and maybe watch another video of mine, because these two things tell the algorithm that you like my stuff, and this is the only way to help me out as a creator if you don't want to throw me up with money. And you don't need to, because your view, your subscription, and your like is worthy for me. Very worthy. At the end of the day, I hope you just enjoyed your time. I certainly did, because always fun to speak about my favorite games. So hopefully you had a better time than the communication department of Frontier lately had. So talk to you in the next one. Until then, have a good time, stay calm, chill and relax, and wait for the next update. So do I, and we speak again. Until then, goodbye.